All right, let's just dive right in. We're going to explore an idea from the philosopher Alan Watts that, well, it kind of pulls the rug out from under the most basic thing you think you know, who you are. This is all about peeling back the layers of a story you probably don't even know you're telling yourself.
So Alan Watts loved to start with this question. And look, he wasn't getting at religion or anything like that. Think of it more like a philosophical crowbar. It's designed to get you to look under the hood of your own identity, your name, your job, your memories, and ask, wait a minute, what is the you that's actually having this experience? And this leads us straight to his main point. The person you think you are? It's a story. A very useful one, a very convincing one for sure. But it's not the whole truth. And, according to Watts, the reason so many of us feel anxious and wound up is because we've started to confuse the story for reality itself. To really get this, we have to look at what Watts saw as the main culprit. He had this brilliant name for it, the skin-encapsulated ego. It's basically the default setting for how most of us walk around in the world. You know what's so powerful about this? It feels completely normal, right? Of course, I'm in here looking out through my eyes at a world that's out there. But Watts argued that this isn't a fact of nature. It's a perspective that we learn from our culture, from our language, from everything, really.
And living from that perspective, well, it has consequences. It creates this underlying feeling of being separate, of being alone in the cosmos. It tricks us into thinking we have to be in control of everything all the time. And that, of course, just fuels that constant low-grade buzz of anxiety about what's coming next. Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the alternative? This is where things get really interesting. Watts offered up a much more playful way of seeing things. He reframed all of reality as a kind of cosmic game. He was a big fan of metaphors because some of these ideas are really hard to pin down with just words. His big idea was that the entire universe is essentially playing a game with itself. And he called it the game of hide and seek. It's so simple, but it's an incredibly powerful way to reframe our whole existence. So, here's the hide part. The universe, the whole shebang, the source of everything, forgets what it is on purpose. It divides itself into all of us, people, animals, rocks, stars, every single thing. And each little piece is totally convinced that it's a separate, standalone individual. And this is the seek part. The whole point of pretending to be separate is the thrill of rediscovery, the incredible surprise of remembering the connection. So your feeling of being an isolated self isn't some final absolute truth. It's just a temporary and totally necessary part of the game. Okay, that's the big mind-bending philosophy. But what do we do with it, right? How do we actually go from feeling like this separate, anxious little controller to something more at ease? Well, the answer is all in the practice of letting go. First, you gotta see where the ego loves to hang out. And it's almost never in the present moment. Nope. The ego is a time traveler. It's always busy managing its story, either picking apart the past with regrets or scripting the future with plans and worries. It's a full-time job, and it is exhausting. The antidote to all that mental chatter is right here, right now, the present moment. It's that tiny gap before your mind slaps a label on everything and fits it into the narrative. For just a second, in the present, the story of you just pauses. So this gives us two totally different ways of being. On one side, you have the ego's way: control, manage, resist, worry. It's a constant effort. On the other side is what Watts took from Taoism. You allow, you flow, you act without all that struggle. They call it wu wei, or effortless action. And it's not about being lazy, it's about acting in harmony with reality, instead of constantly fighting against it. So, what's the payoff? What actually happens when you start shifting your identity away from the controller and more toward the flow? You end up with a profoundly lighter, more fun, more playful way of being in the world. This quote just nails it. The ego is like the riverbanks, rigid, trying to contain everything, terrified of a flood. But Watts is saying, hey, that's not you. You're not the container. You are the river itself, the dynamic, messy, ever-changing flow. Now here's the key. This isn't about destroying the ego. Not at all. It's about changing your relationship to it. You start to have a lighter relationship with anxiety. You can be more playful and open because you're not defending some fragile idea of yourself. You see the ego for what it is, a fantastic tool for getting things done, but it's not the whole of who you are. And this is not some far-out mystical state that's impossible to reach. Think about it. You have already felt this.
You've had moments when you were so lost in a piece of music or laughing with friends or just watching a sunset, and that little internal manager just went quiet for a minute. That feeling of ease, that's exactly what he was talking about.
So I'll just leave you with this question to carry around with you. When all the planning, all the worrying, and all the storytelling about who you are and what you're supposed to be doing, when all of that just pauses for a moment, what do you find is actually here?